Oh, that's what I'm talking about. I don't have a sack.
Oh, it's in my boot. It's in my boot. Hurry up.
All right.
No one expected Pickle Wheat to become the center of the biggest mystery in swamp people history. One minute she was the unstoppable young hunter blazing through the Louisiana swamps, and the next, the internet exploded with claims that she'd vanished, quit the show, or walked away from the life that made her famous. Fans searched everywhere for answers, but every rumor only made things more confusing. Was she hiding a personal crisis? Did the breakup with Chase Landry push her off screen? Or did something behind the cameras change her future forever? While most people argued over theories, Pickle was living a story far more unexpected than anyone could have guessed. A story involving heartbreak, a new love, a growing family, and a life-changing moment that flipped her world upside down. And the truth behind her disappearance from social media, her sudden silence, and the wild rumors about her future is more surprising than anything the show ever revealed. So what really happened to Pickle Wheat? And how did the youngest star of the swamp end up in the middle of a storm she never asked for? The answers start long before the rumors deep in the Louisiana marsh, where her story truly began. Stay to the end so you're not confused like everyone else. Long before reality TV cameras followed her every move, Pickle Wheat was already living the kind of life most hunters train decades to master. She grew up in Poydras, Louisiana, surrounded by a swamp culture that didn't just teach survival, it demanded it. Her family had been in the gator hunting world for generations, and the stories passed down around their kitchen table were the same stories that shaped her identity. Her father, Eddie Wheat, didn't wait for the perfect moment to show her the ropes. He put her on a boat as soon as she could walk, and by the time most kids were learning to ride a bike, Pickle was learning how to track, hook, and handle creatures twice her size. What made her stand out wasn't just raw skill, it was instinct. She learned how to read the water, sense movement beneath the surface, and respect the animals that ruled the swamp. Her grandfather was a legend in St. Bernard Parish, and Pickle carried the same grit that made him a respected name among Louisiana hunters. Off camera, she wasn't performing for attention, she was simply doing what she'd always done, quietly mastering a craft that's unforgiving to anyone who hesitates. But there was another side of her people rarely talk about. Pickle wasn't only a gator hunter, she had a deep knowledge of wildlife built through years of hands-on experience. She understood creatures most people fear, studied their behavior, and learned how to coexist with them long before television noticed her. And even with such a unique upbringing, she kept her early education completely private. No interviews, no school stories, no public details, just silence. For someone raised in a place where everyone knows everyone, she learned early how to guard the parts of her life that mattered. That quiet nature is exactly why no one expected what came next, because the moment the spotlight found her, everything she'd kept private suddenly mattered more than ever. When Pickle Wheat first stepped onto Swamp People, she wasn't treated like a newcomer trying to earn her spot, she was treated like someone who already belonged. The crew noticed it immediately. She moved through the swamp with a confidence most hunters develop only after decades on the water. That was the first clue that she wasn't just another cast addition. She was the kind of personality the show had been waiting for. Troy Landry saw it even sooner. He recognized the way she read the lines, the quick decisions she made in pressure moments, and the calm she kept when a gator thrashed at the surface. Those instincts are rare, and Troy doesn't praise easily. But he trusted her. He let her run point on hunts that would break most rookies, and instead of freezing, Pickle matched his pace like she'd been training her entire life for that moment. Fans reacted the same way. Within weeks, clips of Pickle handling massive gators began circulating online. People didn't just like her, they gravitated toward her energy. She wasn't trying to look tough, she simply was tough. And unlike many reality TV personalities, she never forced it. The way she talked, the way she handled the equipment, the way she stayed focused, even when everything went sideways, it all felt real, because it was. Behind the scenes, producers realized they had lightning in a bottle. A young, fearless hunter with generational swamp knowledge doesn't come around often. The show had built legends for years, but Pickle brought something they hadn't had before, a new face with raw talent and a natural connection to the fans. Before long, she became one of the most watched parts of each episode, and viewers started showing up just to see what she'd do next. Everything looked unstoppable from the outside. But while she was rising fast on screen, something entirely different was unfolding away from the cameras, something that would eventually raise questions no one saw coming. As Pickle's popularity grew, fans began noticing something else happening quietly in the background. Her connection with Chase Landry wasn't just on-screen chemistry, it started turning into a real relationship. They shared photos, dropped hints, and even updated their social media statuses. For a moment, it looked like two of the swamp's strongest personalities had become the newest power pair of the series. People loved it. Chase was already a fan favorite because of his family legacy, and Pickle was the rising star with unmatched grit. Together, the two had the kind of energy producers dream about: skilled, young, and genuinely bonded by the dangerous life they lived. It made perfect sense on paper, maybe too much sense. Then everything shifted. Almost overnight, the photos disappeared. Posts were deleted. Their online presence together vanished without explanation. Fans who had been celebrating the relationship suddenly found nothing but silence. No breakup announcement, no statements, just digital empty space where memories used to be. And in the world of reality TV, silence is never just silence, it becomes gasoline on a rumor fire. Speculation spread fast. Some claimed the two split over differences in lifestyles. Others suggested the high-pressure filming schedule created tension. A few even pushed the idea that producers wanted the storyline gone. None of these theories were confirmed, and Pickle didn't give anyone a clue. She simply went back to work like nothing had changed, which only made things feel stranger. What made the whole situation more confusing was how quickly fans connected the breakup rumors to something even bigger, whispers that Pickle was stepping away from the show entirely. The timeline lined up too neatly, and the internet jumped to its own conclusions. But the truth behind that wave of speculation wasn't tied to Chase at all. Something much larger was happening in the background, and it was about to make fans question everything they thought they knew about her. It started small, a few confused comments under old clips, a couple of fan posts asking why Pickle hadn't been seen in recent promos, and whispers about her disappearing from social media for longer than usual. But within days, the conversation exploded into a full-blown rumor storm. Suddenly, everyone was convinced Pickle Wheat had quit Swamp People without warning. Fan pages spread theories at lightning speed. Some claimed she walked away after her breakup. Others insisted she was done with television forever. A few dramatic posts even suggested she had packed up, left Louisiana, and cut ties with the entire cast. None of it was confirmed, but that didn't matter. People believed it because they wanted a reason for her silence. The strange part? Pickle never addressed the rumors. Not a single post, not a single interview. And when someone with her level of popularity goes quiet, the internet fills the gap with whatever story feels the most dramatic. Clips from old episodes were misinterpreted. Comments were taken out of context. Even unrelated photos were turned into proof that she had walked away from the show for good. The timing made everything worse. The season had ended, episodes weren't airing, and the cast was in their usual off-season downtime, but fans didn't see it that way. They saw a missing star, a sudden absence, and a silence that felt too unusual to ignore. What no one realized was that the speculation was being fueled by something entirely different, something happening behind the scenes that had nothing to do with contracts, drama, or the show itself. And when that part of the story surfaced, it completely changed the way fans looked at Pickle's disappearance. Just when fans were already confused about Pickle's quiet disappearance, another shockwave hit the Swamp People community. The internet started spreading claims that Troy Landry had passed away. For a cast built on loyalty and tradition, this rumor wasn't just random drama. It was a direct hit to the heart of the show. Troy wasn't just a cast member. He was the backbone of the entire series, the man who shaped its identity from the beginning. The truth was far different, but the damage had already started. Troy had undergone a serious battle with prostate cancer and faced a risky surgery that could have taken his life if anything went wrong. Fans panicked when they learned bits and pieces of the story, and the lack of immediate updates only made the situation feel worse. People assumed the worst, and before long, false headlines claiming he had died were circulating at full speed. Pickle was caught in the middle of this storm without even saying a word. Her silence, combined with Troy's health scare, created a perfect scenario for misinformation. If Troy was missing from the public eye and Pickle was staying quiet at the same time, the internet treated it like a disaster. Fans connected dots that weren't meant to be connected. Some even suggested she stepped away from the show because of something that happened to him. None of it was true. Troy survived the surgery, recovered, and returned with the same determination he was known for. But during the period when fans were grasping for answers, Pickle's privacy made her an easy target. Every rumor about Troy somehow circled back to her, feeding the idea that something massive had happened behind the scenes. But while viewers were drowning in speculation, Pickle's real life was moving in a completely different direction, a direction nobody expected, and one that explained her silence far more clearly than any rumor ever could. While fans were busy debating whether Pickle had quit the show or disappeared because of drama, she was quietly building an entirely different life away from the spotlight. After things ended with Chase Landry, she didn't rush back into the dating world, and she didn't make any announcements about where her heart was headed. She simply went silent, and that silence hid the biggest shift in her personal life. Enter Joshua Kipps, a Louisiana EMT with no connection to swamp people, no interest in fame, and no desire to become a public figure. He wasn't posting hunts, filming scenes, or chasing attention. He lived a regular life, clocked into a real job, and stayed completely off camera. And that's exactly what made their bond so surprising. Pickle went from dating a well-known cast member to falling for someone who existed outside the chaos of television. Their relationship didn't unfold publicly the way her previous one did. There were no flashy posts, no staged photos, and no social media updates telling fans what to think. Instead, everything grew quietly, slowly, and privately, which only added to the mystery surrounding her sudden absence online. What made the situation even more interesting was how fans found out. It wasn't through a press release or a dramatic reveal. It was through the small hints Pickle started dropping. A shared photo here, a casual mention there, and eventually a moment that confirmed everything. The world expected her to be navigating heartbreak or stepping away from the swamp life entirely. But she was actually in the middle of a new beginning, one that would soon lead to a life-changing announcement that made the rumors about her leaving the show look tiny in comparison. The whispers about her new relationship were barely settling when Pickle surprised everyone with news that made every rumor about her leaving the show instantly irrelevant. She was expecting her first child with Joshua Kipps. It wasn't a dramatic TV moment or a scripted reveal. It was a simple photo Pickle holding her growing bump posted on her own terms, in her own quiet style. And just like that, fans finally understood why she'd stepped back from social media and why her presence on the show felt different. For someone who grew up wrestling gators and racing across the swamp, stepping into motherhood was a completely new kind of challenge. But the same determination she brought to the boat showed up in every update she shared. She didn't romanticize anything. She didn't pretend it was easy. She just embraced it with the same grit that made fans fall in love with her in the first place. In April 2023, Pickle welcomed her daughter, Miami Ray, a moment that shifted her priorities more than any storyline or rumor ever could. Suddenly, the girl who spent her life risking everything on the water had someone she needed to come home to. And yet, what shocked fans most was how quickly she returned to doing what she loved. Even with a newborn, Pickle was back in the swamps, back in the mud, and back handling the wildlife she grew up with. She wasn't disappearing. She wasn't quitting. She wasn't running from anything. She was stepping into a new version of herself, one where hunting, motherhood, and her personal life all existed at the same time. But her journey didn't stop there. As the world adjusted to the idea of Pickle as a mom, she quietly prepared for another moment that would bring even more change, a moment that fans would only discover after it had already happened. Just as fans were adjusting to Pickle's new life as a mother, she surprised everyone again with a moment she managed to keep completely private. While the internet was still arguing about whether she had left swamp people, Pickle was quietly preparing for something far more meaningful: her wedding. There were no flashy announcements, no magazine spreads, and no long countdown posts. Instead, she married Joshua Kipps in a simple, emotional ceremony by the water in Louisiana. It wasn't a Hollywood production. It was intimate, personal, and exactly the kind of celebration someone like Pickle would choose. The moment Troy Landry appeared in the wedding special, officiating with pride in his voice, fans finally understood how close she remained to the people who shaped her life on the show. But the wedding was only part of what she'd been keeping close to her heart. Not long after, news broke that Pickle and Joshua had welcomed another child, quietly expanding their family while the internet chased theories about her disappearance. Instead of correcting rumors or defending herself online, she focused on the people who mattered most, raising her daughter, welcoming her new baby, and building a life rooted in stability rather than attention. Through all the speculation, the truth was simple. Pickle wasn't pulling away from her swamp roots or abandoning the world that made her famous. She was growing a family, strengthening her home life, and choosing moments that didn't need broadcast cameras to feel important. And while fans were still trying to piece together her every move, Pickle was already deep into the next phase of her life, one that revealed exactly where she stands today. With so many rumors swirling around her name, the truth about Pickle Wheat's life today is far more grounded and far more impressive than anything the internet made up. She didn't vanish. She didn't quit the swamp. She didn't walk away from the life she was raised in. Instead, Pickle has been building something most people never see behind the chaos of reality TV. A stable, intentional, and deeply rooted life that reflects who she's always been. These days, Pickle spends most of her time exactly where people first fell in love with her outdoors, working the land and staying connected to her family's hunting traditions. Even with 2 young children, she still joins her family during hunting seasons, still steps onto the water when the lines are tight, and still carries the same quiet confidence she brought to every episode. Motherhood didn't replace the swamp. It simply gave her more reasons to respect the lifestyle she grew up in. Away from the boats and mud, she's also running a successful merchandise line that fans can't get enough of. Shirts, hats, and swamp-themed gear sell out constantly, forcing her to restock more than she ever expected. It's become a full business on its own, one she manages while juggling a household, 2 kids, and the unpredictable rhythm of Louisiana life. She recently moved into a new home, turning a simple property into her own version of a swamp sanctuary. Chickens, outdoor projects, and constant repairs have become part of her daily routine. Even when an accident with a nail left her limping around the yard, she laughed it off and kept going, the same toughness she showed on camera now showing up in her everyday life. Financially, she's doing better than most people her age, with real earnings from the show, her family's long-standing hunting business, and her merch line, placing her estimated net worth somewhere around $500,000. Not celebrity rich, but far beyond the average 20-something who grew up in a small Louisiana town. And the biggest surprise? She still films for swamp people. She's still part of the cast. She still shows up when the cameras start rolling, just not with the constant online noise she once had. Her role may shift, episodes may vary, but she hasn't vanished, and she hasn't stepped away from the culture that built her. Pickle didn't disappear. She evolved. And the rumors that once made fans panic never came close to the real story of where she stands today. When you look back at everything that unfolded around Pickle Wheat, it's easy to see how the internet spun a normal life transition into a full-blown vanishing act. None of the rumors came from anything she said or did. They came from the gaps, the quiet moments, the private choices, and the timing that lined up a little too perfectly. Her breakup with Chase created the first wave of speculation. Fans assumed the end of that relationship meant the end of her storyline on the show. When she stopped posting as often, people treated silence like evidence. Then Troy Landry's health scare hit the news, and uncertainty around him triggered uncertainty around the show. Viewers linked those 2 situations together, even though they had nothing to do with each other. But the biggest fuel came from Pickle herself, not because of anything wrong, but because she lives differently than most reality TV stars. She doesn't overshare, she doesn't chase attention, she doesn't explain her decisions publicly. And in a world where people expect constant updates, that kind of privacy becomes a mystery all by itself. While everyone was convinced she'd quit, she was actually building a family. While people claimed she stepped away from the swamp, she was still hunting with the same determination she's always had. And while fans thought something terrible happened behind the scenes, she was busy preparing for a wedding, welcoming a new baby, and trying to balance motherhood with the dangerous lifestyle she grew up in. The truth is simple. Pickle didn't leave the show, she didn't disappear, and she wasn't avoiding her fans. She was growing up. Her life shifted faster than the audience could see, and the internet filled in the blanks with whatever sounded the most dramatic. But now that the dust has settled, the real story stands out clearly. Pickle Wheat never fell off the map. She just stepped into a new chapter of her life, one that shows how far she's come and how tightly she still holds on to the swamp that raised her. What comes next for her has fans more curious than ever. Now that the truth about Pickle Wheat's life has finally come into focus, her future looks nothing like the dramatic theories the internet created. She isn't living in isolation, she isn't distancing herself from the cast, and she isn't stepping away from the swamp that defined her childhood. Instead, she's shaping a future that blends everything she loves: family, hunting, and a lifestyle rooted in the Louisiana marshlands. With Joshua by her side and 2 young children depending on her, Pickle's world has become more structured, but not softer. She still wakes up early for the outdoor work most people complain just thinking about. She still joins the hunts when the season opens, handling gators with the same confidence she had before any cameras ever pointed at her. The only difference now is the reason she fights so hard to stay grounded. She wants her kids to understand where they come from. Behind the scenes, she's expanding her presence slowly but intentionally. Her merchandise business continues to grow, her hunting skills remain razor sharp, and she still films for swamp people when production returns. But she does it all on her own terms. No loud announcements. No staged hype. Just the same calm, determined rhythm she's always lived with. And as the fans who once panicked over her silence start catching up to the truth, something unexpected has happened. Pickle has become even more respected. Not because she chased fame, but because she refused to let fame change her. She stayed true to her roots while building a life completely separate from the noise. The mystery that once surrounded her is gone. What's left is the real version of Pickle Wheat, a mother, a hunter, a wife, a businesswoman, and one of the few reality stars who didn't let the spotlight pull her away from who she is. But even now, there's one last question fans keep asking, and it's the one that will shape her story more than anything else that's happened so far. Even with all the answers laid out, there's one question that refuses to fade. What does Pickle Wheat want next? Not what the show wants, not what the internet expects, what she wants. Because for the first time since she appeared on television, her future isn't tied to dramatic episodes, wild theories, or sudden disappearances. It's tied to the life she's building behind the scenes, the one fans rarely get to see. People keep asking if she'll return full-time to swamp people, if she'll take her kids into the swamp one day, or if she'll shift into something completely different. And the truth is, Pickle hasn't locked herself into any path. She's living in a moment where everything is open: the swamp, her family, her business, and the possibilities that come with being one of the most recognizable young hunters in the country. What stands out now is how she moves differently than most public figures her age. She doesn't chase constant visibility, and she doesn't measure her success through followers or hype. She measures it through her roots, her family, and the traditions that shaped her long before reality TV ever existed. And that alone makes her future unpredictable in the best way possible. Whether she steps deeper into the show, focuses on raising her children, expands her business, or blends all of it together, one thing is certain: Pickle Wheat has never been defined by rumors. She's defined by resilience, loyalty, and the drive to build a life that feels real even when the world keeps trying to turn her into a headline. And now that the truth behind her disappearance, her relationships, her family, and her life changes are finally clear, it leaves one final thought hanging in the air. The kind of thought that makes viewers lean in, wondering what she'll do when the next Louisiana season rolls around. Today, Pickle Wheat lives a life that balances everything she values with surprising ease. She's still deeply rooted in Louisiana, raising her children in the same culture that shaped her, teaching them the rhythms of the swamp long before they're old enough to understand what makes it so special. Her days are filled with family, outdoor work, and the quiet satisfaction of living on her own terms, not the internet's expectations. She's still connected to swamp people, still part of the hunts when filming returns, and still one of the most respected young hunters in the cast. But now, she approaches the show differently. She doesn't treat it like the center of her world. She treats it like something she loves, but not something she depends on. That balance has made her presence feel stronger than ever. At home, she and Joshua Kipps have built a stable, grounded life that reflects everything they've worked for. Their children are growing up surrounded by family, tradition, and the unmistakable Louisiana grit that runs through Pickle's bloodline. Her new home projects, her growing merch line, and her constant presence in the outdoors show exactly how much she values a life built from hard work rather than attention. For fans who spent months wondering if she'd walked away from the swamp forever, the truth is far simpler. Pickle never left. She just evolved. She grew into a new version of herself while staying loyal to the world that raised her. And now, with a strong family behind her and a career that still welcomes her back whenever she's ready, Pickle Wheat is stepping into a future that's wide open. One built on tradition, love, and the same unshakable spirit that made her unforgettable from the start. Her story didn't end when the rumors began. It just shifted into something real, something lasting, and something far more meaningful than anyone expected. If Pickle Wheat's journey taught us anything, it's that the truth is always deeper than the rumors. She didn't disappear, she didn't quit. She built a life that's stronger, quieter, and more meaningful than the internet ever expected. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Pickle will return to swamp people full-time, or is she entering a completely new era of her life? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. And if you want more stories that cut through the noise and reveal what really happened to your favorite reality TV stars, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on all notifications, and share this video with another Swamp People fan. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next deep dive.